Hello and welcome to the Metal Pack Pod, the industry's leading podcast for the global metal packaging market. The Metal Pack Pod is brought to you by the Metal Packager, the number one digital resource for the global metal packaging market. With over 7,000 monthly users in over 150 countries globally, be sure to like our content and check us out on metalpackager.com. I'm your host Alex Fordham, and in today's episode we welcome Stuart Wilkinson from Williams Say & Co, the only can maker in London. The company has recently invested over £750,000 on its site, introducing new ultra-modern technology as part of an extensive refurbishment of the factory's essential equipment. The company has also produced commemorative tins for last year's big event, the King's Coronation, and have also simultaneously implemented an investment plan across its site, installing exciting new technology across its long-serving lines. During this episode, we discuss these developments and also ask Stuart's thoughts on the current state of play in the can making business. But before we begin, we must give special mention to our sponsors, PPG. Their range of innovative and sustainable solutions help protect and beautify the world. Now on to today's show. So, good morning, Stu. Yeah, thanks very much for joining me. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Yeah, it's been it's been a while since we last spoken. I know it must be sort of a good 6-7 years, and a lot certainly changed since then, not least within the can making business. So that's probably a nice place to start. I mean, yeah, how have you guys navigated the past few years? I think we've had Brexit, supply chain issues. I mean, we've had the general growth within the industry as well due to kind of COVID. So yeah,
it's been turbulent, but it's been a lot of challenges, as you said, with Brexit, which I think everyone in the industry thought was going to be the biggest challenge that we had in 5 years. And now when you speak to people, it's never even mentioned. It was probably the smallest thing that happened. But I think, COVID was obviously the biggest shift, and everybody saw such dramatic changes in what was needed from their different businesses. And as you say, that led into a lot of supply chain issues generally across the board, and shortages of material, and then enormous changes in costs of raw materials. And so that's all been, I think, challenging for everybody to manage. So much movement for everybody, including our customers, our suppliers, everyone. So that's that's been an interesting time, I think, for everyone. But we've been well placed to deal with it, I would say, right back to the first point, which was Brexit. Of every time that was potentially gonna happen, because there were so many false starts to it, then we would just make sure we could fill the place up to the rafters, whether it's raw materials, finished goods. Just make sure that we focused on continuity of supply for our customers. And I think we were quite lucky to be able to do that. And again, that was sort of a trial, if you like. We did the same thing through COVID as much as we could, and just the ability to not delay things, just play it safe. We had the finances behind us to if you like, over order on raw materials and other products, just to make sure that we were secure and our customers were secure.
No, excellent stuff. And I mean, the industry, it seems, certainly because of the ongoing sustainability message that we've seen and the increasing consumption of canned goods during COVID, and certainly the anti-plastic sentiment globally has certainly helped. So did you see the tailwind to that in terms of and growth in the last few years? And then the kind of the caveat to that as well is that the industry, certainly in the two-piece beverage can side, has slowed in the past, certainly in the past 12 months because of inflationary pressures globally. Have you kind of has that kind of been the way your business has tackled the last few years?
I mean, those two things, pushing volumes up and down, we're seeing it all the time. It's changing. It's you can't seem to really read it from the different markets that we're in as well. You've got the commercial pressures, which just seem to be getting harder and harder. Really, there's less money, expendable income in families, with interest rates maintaining at a higher level, and in terms of people looking more at the sustainability aspect and wanting to move into metal, wanting to look more at local sourcing. That's still moving forward for a lot of companies that have it to their core, or that they can use it to add value. People that has more synergy with their brand, they seem to be moving at a faster pace, and I think that will always happen. But then you do have the other end of the spectrum, which are maybe more commodity, or dare I say, some of the more industrial brands have been a bit slower on the uptake, I would say, on sustainability. It's not so deeply set into the value of the brand compared to maybe a high-end retailer. And so yeah, really different approaches by people, and we're dealing with that full spectrum. So we were lucky enough, sort of looping back into what we were talking about on the raw material issues through COVID. We've always bought all of the material for our cans from the UK side, so that helped us a lot in hindsight. Although it's always been a slightly higher cost base to do that. It's most of the troubles on with the shipping containers and supply out the Far East. We were shielded from, and we managed to shield our customers from. So I think that extra value sort of paid dividends for both us and our customers. And yeah, there's plenty of brands where they can see that's got a value that's much more upfront as well. Their consumers are asking more about it. We try to communicate that even through the tins with debossing on the bottom that is made in the UK. We haven't got where the raw materials are from, but it's sort of linked in with our own brand ethos. So I think it puts us in a good place to get the extra value, pass it on to our consumers.
We interrupt this episode for a brief segment from our sponsors, PPG.
Packaging coatings from PPG draw on our company's 140-year history of innovation. We never stop improving our solutions to meet the evolving needs of can makers and the marketplace. That spirit of innovation results in technology like the cradle-to-cradle platinum-rated PPG Innovel Pro. PPG Innovel Pro is the latest enhancement to the world's #1 non-BPA beverage can coating. It still doesn't use any bisphenol ingredients, but experienced can makers report that it now sprays like an epoxy. Follow PPG Packaging Coatings on LinkedIn or visit packagingcoatings.com to learn more about why PPG is the coatings partner for can making excellence.
We've certainly deep dived into a lot of meaty subjects there, but perhaps if we take things back a fraction for those who aren't quite as well acquainted with William Say as perhaps some others, if you can just provide a bit of background and history heritage behind the brand, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So William Say started, as most of these older companies, as a sole trader, basically one man working from a very small workshop underneath a pub in central London, just a stone's throw from Tower Bridge. And he was, Mr. William Say himself was in effect an inventor, and working on the gentry's bicycles, making umbrellas. It's quite hard to trace it all the way back, but one of the sort of key moments where we moved into metal and then metal packaging was he has a patent that was placed in 1915, which predates a lot of the marketing we have around the company. We've tried to make it more around the companies when they were limited, but the history extends far beyond that. And this invention that he created was for the tea trade, which is obviously one of the biggest trades back then. You had all of the docks and wharves in London. They were bringing in tea clipper boats, and that tea was packaged in wooden crates, which they'd had a long old journey. And then the issue was that you couldn't easily open those up. You'd have to sort of crowbar off a whole panel to see whether there'd been any spoilage in transit. And once you'd done that, then you got spoilage in storage in the UK. So it was creating a problem for the industry. And Mr. William Say invented a series of tools to bore a hole in a wooden tea chest, take a sample, and then seal it back up with, in effect, a metal plug made from tin plated steel, like we make the cans from today. So it was a pressed component, and was called the William Sape bung, and that led to our our sort of evolution from tea bungs to then starting to do some tea tins, until we were doing all the tea tins for Harrods and Fortnums, and then it was the sort of decades through the 70s and 80s when that focus shifted and we went a bit more industrial. So that's kind of how it all started. So one man in a shed trying to create some solutions to the industry problems in London.
Where's the company now? So you mentioned about having being in multiple industries and perhaps having a diverse portfolio has meant you've been able to navigate the challenges within, I suppose, business in general, really. So if you can just if you touch upon some of the industries that you are in, obviously you've got the decorative market, which I know we can get on to shortly about the King's coronation and what you did there as well. So just curious about the portfolio that you have now as it stands.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's, when I look back at the history and try to research what we used to do, we've sort of gone full circle, but we haven't let anything else drop off along the way. So that's meant we've collated a lot of different industries and niches in our portfolio of customers and markets that we operate in. But I mentioned there the tea tins, and that was obviously decorative for people like Fortnum and Mason, and then the move into more industrial cans, so printing inks in particular. There were trade printers on every single road in London, and all of those printing inks were in metal slip cans. So we were quite dominant in the slip tin market. I mean, I say dominant. There was also a huge amount more can makers even in central London back then. I'm talking in the sort of 50s, 60s. So a lot of those cans would be unprinted, and we moved into, again, other industrial cans like lever lids, again predominantly unprinted. It would be labeled or marked up, and even a lot of those tins would be used in back of house, whether they're for solvents companies, adhesives companies, anything like that, where they need to move components in industrial packaging as part of their manufacturing process. So yeah, that's kind of led us from, I suppose, high-end retail drifted into quite core industrial general line. And then the way the market's moved in the last sort of 30 years or so, where we've, as I say, not let anything drop off, we've still had that kit and knowledge here. So we've sort of filtered back in the embellishments, decoration, and service levels that are needed for the higher end retail market that we turned our back on to some degree. A lot of the buyers in the 70s and 80s started to slowly shift stuff further afield and take advantage of the labor rates and other commercial advantages overseas, lands afar. So it's with the focus on local sourcing and the need for that coming back round, the reality is that there just hasn't really been the infrastructure to cope with it in the UK. And we've been sort of trying to onshore or facilitate as much of onshoring as possible.
Yeah, and I suppose with trends such as digital printing and the demand from consumers for more kind of bespoke products, it's a perfect fit for you guys as well. And just wanted to, you did mention earlier about when William Sape first started, it was very much a case of one man and his shed, but now sort of the size of the organisation has obviously grown since then. So just a little bit of information behind the workforce, and I believe you guys are the only can maker left in London as well. So that's a story to tell, and seeing the branding of the company, that seems to be very close to your heart still. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, on site there's about 50 of us, and so it has changed quite a bit since the initial founding. But from what I can see from especially through Dad's era is there's just been so much consolidation that there were so many independents. As I say, when he joined the business, I think there was around 50 just in London, and they've just all been absorbed or gone under. And now, if you look at the landscape now, you've got a very small amount of extremely large players, and the volumes that they need to put through their lines are predominantly more geared towards commodity items. Obviously, there's exceptions, but that's allowed, I think, quite a large opportunity for the extra service levels that the Far East and other emerging economies are happy to offer. And the reality is that there's a lot of smaller users that bespoke tin is now sort of inaccessible to them unless they go to sort of less sustainable options and look further afield. So I think we're quite well placed with a lot of the traditional kit that we've got and the service offering that we can facilitate out of our stockers business as well, that we can, between the two, we can try and onshore more of the mid to smaller users.
And you see in terms of business where you do have periods of intense consolidation, and then it creates opportunities then for independence. And it looks like that we're perhaps seeing that within the industry as well. I know certainly there was the controversy with Bull Corporation and minimum order requirements for particular customers and things like that. So it ultimately presents an opportunity for you guys as well when you do have that consolidation. People want to still have that independent experience where you can give those value added opportunities in terms of products, service, things like that. So is that kind of where you're pitching yourselves in terms of your point of difference to others within the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's flexibility on the product itself, so we're quite happy to do line changeovers for quite small quantities, and so that's one advantage in flexibility in product, but also the service itself. As I say, we've got the stocker side of the business as well, so that enables us to facilitate quite a flexible service offering, right down to just a true stockist offering of having a 5-day lead time on a bespoke can on single pallet orders. So we I think we're quite well set up to give an added value to the service. So
absolutely. And I read recently about the decision to invest in your London factory. So if you can just perhaps give some background behind that, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's, as you can appreciate, with any manufacturing, you're investing all the time. We just went through quite a heavy investment period for us last year, partly because we bought another Oxfam cutting line, which is quite a sizable investment for us, and that's now a sister machine to the machine we bought around 15 years ago. So there's two of those on site, which future-proofs us a little bit, gives us a bit more continuity in terms of we've got had all the cutting going through a single machine, and now we retain the old machine, so we've now got more options. But also just in terms of going through systematically a lot of the other kit that we've got on site, and as I say, where we haven't let anything drop off, we've got machines on site that will run really infrequently, and the level of deep maintenance that we've started to do on that older kit, of basically send them away where possible to engineering firms that can facilitate full restoration and overhaul, just to get them up to where they need to be for good quality product. And everything in the metal industry seems to be extremely expensive, so you kind of your tens or hundreds of thousands on whatever you do. So going through every single bit of kit we've got is a big outlay for us.
Just one thing that perhaps should have mentioned earlier is the fact of the King's coronation last year, and that's a proud moment for you guys, I assume, with the products there that you created. So yeah, some information on that for our listeners would be
Yeah,
great.
very much so. Yeah, I mean that's when I joined the business around 12 years ago. That was actually always a company or a set of products that I had in the crosshairs, if you like, because it just seemed such a shame that you could go into a Royal Palace and the tin be in there not be from. I mean, as I said, one of the only, if not the only London factory, but um, a lot of them could be from further afield. And that's looking back to the 12 or 15 years, and a lot's changed. But when we were approached to do the coronation, then yeah, it was a huge privilege and a big challenge as well. They were really, really accommodating, and I have to say they're the fastest moving company that I've seen on the sustainability angle. In that, as soon as there was a link between the two companies, they immediately decided that's it. We're placing orders, and then it was a period of working with them to see what we could achieve in terms of the level of embellishments and getting the quality and achieving the product that they were setting out to do for the King's coronation. So there were some aspects of that that were new to us, and they took some risk on along with us to go through the process where timelines were quite tight, and enable us to do some trial and error and not try and sort of pigeonhole things into black and white, yes or no. And that gave us time to evolve and in the end deliver what they wanted originally, but sharing some of the risk of that. So yeah, that was a great project, and as you say, yeah, we were very proud to both be asked and to deliver it.
Absolutely. So it seems with obviously the investment and the exciting projects that you've got going on and the diverse portfolio that you're very still optimistic. I know we've talked about some of the challenges along the way, but ultimately as a business, optimistic for the future. So that's really the question I had to you is in terms of the industry overall. I know we've talked about kind of market slowdown in the last 12 to 18 months, but ultimately the story of metal packaging is still there, and the consumers still get that. So are you ultimately optimistic for both the overall business and also the industry in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're very optimistic. There are some challenges. I mean, we've spoken a lot about the evolution of our own business and the onshoring of product from say the Far East, and there's a lot of challenges with doing that in the sort of small to mid market, because as we said before, everything in the metal industry in terms of tooling machinery, it's a lot of money, and so commercially you get a bit stuck when someone wants 10 to 20,000 tins and they put something on the table that's fully bespoke, a different shape, loads of embellishments. Then unless you've already got the kit ready to go, then it'll never stack up. So it's been about making small adjustments over the last 10 years and small changes, small embellishments, taking on board things like the new technologies with digital printing to get to the point where we're at now. And I think seeing how much that's changed our portfolio and the companies that we're working with now, it's really exciting. I mean, if someone came into the sample room sort of 15 years ago, they'd be met with a wall of plain tin plate samples, mostly industrial. And now there are tins, like you said, the King's Coronation and plenty of other London brands that are diversified what we're doing. And it allows people to be a bit more creative when they're sitting in front of us and working out what they want and seeing what we can make. So it's yeah, I think from that aspect alone, it's quite exciting seeing that change and that evolution. I'm excited to see where we'll be in the next 10 years.
Absolutely. Do you guys have the scope to expand where you are? I know when I visited a few years ago, you're in a iconic location in Bermondsey in South London, and it just was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you at the time, and I don't think I did. Is that do you have the floor space to kind of capture that potential growth in this industry, or would it be a case of having to look for a new location? Because it's a great story to tell, being sort of the only can maker in London. But do you have the kind of the scope to expand as and when you need to?
Yeah, I think so. We're not very economical with the space that we've got, because we almost don't need to be, but we certainly could work it harder. As I mentioned, there's a lot of kit that we've got that will run extremely infrequently, and so we could always, if there was something that we wanted to do that we thought was made more sense commercially, then we could swap that lesser used kit out for something that's got more opportunity. We've also got quite a lot of undeveloped land here. We've got two very large yards, which the format of the site could be changed without even talking about developing the site properly itself, which again, there'd be scope to do that as well. When you look at the sites that are built now, even in the area that we're in, with much higher footprint and more of a shed, if you like, with potentially more usable space. So there's plenty of options before we even look at relocating, and then we could still relocate within London if we needed to. But I'd like that we grow the business and burst the walls, and we're well off that. We've got a lot of capacity left.
No, and I think you strike the balance well in terms of a nod to the past, but also a nod to the future. So it'll be interesting to see how you as a company develop in the next few years. So I think that from my side, that's everything covered. So Stu, it's been a pleasure to deep dive into the latest developments of Williams Say, and we'll have to catch up again in the coming months. So thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you.